you just to click on it. Um, I'm just sent it. Don't hang up. All right, all right, all right. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to Mind in My Mind under the Closing the Gap Broadcast Network. This is your hostess, Anisa Muhammad of Mind in My Mind. How awesome is that? Sister Chantel, I see you. I'm going to add you to the stage. And we, wa alaikum salam, dear sister. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to be talking about hold on one second. I'm starting it again.
Okay.
Everything is back where it's supposed to be, and I'm trying to hide this. There we go. This is so awesome. And trying to navigate the producing aspect of it can be a challenge sometimes. And I welcome the challenge. All praises due to Allah. There we are. I thank you again so much, listening audience, for your patience and understanding while we worked our way through these technical difficulties. Again, I am Anisa Muhammad, and welcome to Closing the Gap Broadcasting Network. Today, what Sister Chantel and I are going to be discussing will be based upon the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and how to eat to live. And what we're going to be talking about or continuing our discussion on phytochemicals. And it's this phytochemicals are considered a non-macronutrient. Really, that's the way that they're not talking about it from that perspective, but that's the way that they're treating it, as if phytochemicals do not exist. And we are here to blow the lid off that myth, because phytochemicals are real. They have a lot of healing properties. And we're going to talk about the color coding of God and how he made his creation and created it for us to be able to live, to eat to live, and to prosper as well, as we go through our lives eating to live, fresh fruits and vegetables. And today we're going to be talking about red fruit composition and fruits that are red, fruits and vegetables that are red, green, and yellow. Sister Chantel, go right ahead, please, and share with us what you know about phytochemicals. And forgive this if I may steal a adage from the Skittles candy commercial, "Tasting the Rainbow," right?
Yes, ma'am. Well, from my understanding, the different color spectrum, as you stated, which is the colors of the earth. We're one. We're all connected, and our bodies definitely utilizes elements from the earth. That being said, like you said, green, reds, yellows, and I'm going to start off with green. Green does wonders, especially if you got a child or children that's dealing with autism or asthma. If you were to feed your child that's dealing with one of these two issues, you may want to incorporate more broccoli, spinach, cabbage, any green vegetables and fruit, green grapes. And the reason being, these green vegetables and fruit have been shown to have things such as B6, calcium, citrus, which is good for brain health, good for gut health, and the brain and gut, as stated in prior videos, are connected. It has been proven to be connected. And fun fact, in ancient Egypt, Imhotep and doctors that were taught under him utilized color therapy. Um, they utilize color therapy in different foods, light therapy. So this is not a new discovery. This is something that we discovered a long time ago through Imhotep, who's the original doctor, not the other guy.
Saying not the other
So
guy.
yes.
We're
So
not
and
going to mention any names, but not the other guy.
not the other guy. And also, it has studies have shown that with asthma, um, Black children have a 12% rate of asthma, while white children have 5% rate of asthma. Autism, same thing. Black children have 3% rate of autism, while white children are at 2%. So just any little thing that we can do to reduce symptoms of these ailments really helps. So being mindful of what we feed our children, including like we're discussing tonight, colors. Each color represent a health component. So you want to load up again.
Brothers and sisters, thank you all so much. Please be patient with us while we are experiencing some. Okay, are you back? Can you hear me, Chantel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Dear sister, I know that red fruits, from a biochemical and bioactive perspective, they contain vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E. They have
Hmm.
calcium, they have phosphorus, they have iron, they have magnesium, potassium, sodium, manganese, and copper, and dietary fiber. And
Yes.
all of these particular nutrients are definitely needed for brain development. They are definitely needed to feed the dopamine receptors, to feed the serotonin, melatonin receptors in order for our children's brains to be developed in the right way. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Because the neurotransmitters, dopamine, for example, even though it's considered the the neurotransmitter that goes to the pleasure center, we can
Yes.
redirect that in that a child can take pleasure in learning. A child can
Yes.
take pleasure in eating something that is prepared for them right. A child can
Correct.
actually be able to learn how to focus better and to concentrate better and to learn better just by changing the diet. And
Hmm.
I know that there is a lot of controversy out here today with regard to ADD, ADHD. I'm not speaking into that because my field is public health and nutrition.
Yes.
It's not neuroscience, nor is my scope of practice involved in psychiatry. From a medical perspective, from a
Hmm.
biochemical perspective, it is possible to change the behavior of young children just by feeding them the right foods.
Correct.
Because a lack of certain nutrients in the diet actually has an adverse effect on their attention span. It has an adverse effect on their ability to focus. It has an adverse effect on how they learn. And
Yes.
it even kind of makes them a little bit more, I'm not going to say hyper because that we misuse that term, hyper, being hyperactive. Of
Yeah.
course, your child is going to be hyperactive if all you feed them is sugar and sugar byproducts.
That's true.
So to me, that does not, I'm going to say, and that does not compute, and it's really not logically sound. It's not scientifically sound. Giving them too much sugar, making them active, it is.
Correct.
And so I've even realized that a lot of the foods that we are supposed to eat, we're not eating because we don't understand them. And even when we do purchase them, I notice that people are going more toward freeze dried fruits and vegetables because they last
Hmm.
longer. But there's
Yeah.
a process that has to be undergone in order for you to be able to freeze dry a fruit properly or dehydrate it properly. And then they have to add preservatives because we usually buy it off the shelf in a store. The
Correct.
preservatives that they're putting on these fruits and vegetables that we're being taught are healthy really kind of sort of are not, because in order for you to dehydrate it, it has to be heated to a certain temperature, and
Right.
heat changes the chemical composition of things. And it really, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in How to Eat to Live not to cook your food too long, because we have a tendency as women, as cooks, as mothers, sometimes we just cook the nutrients right out of the food.
Correct. Especially putting food in the microwave, you totally killed everything that's in within that food. And also, food dyes. We definitely have to stay away from food dyes. And food dyes is not just found in packaged food or canned food. If you eat salmon, you're eating food dye because naturally, salmon is not pink. That's a food dye. They made it appealing to the eye, but you're eat that's a food dye.
Yes, ma'am. Tell me a
From
little bit more about that. So, what color is salmon? Because I know that they do have different. I'm gonna say, for lack of a better term, species
yeah,
of
yes,
salmon.
yes. From my understanding, it's like a dull gray. It's not appealing. From my understanding, it's not appealing. So that's why they make
E-
it like a pinkish to
Even
appeal
with
to the
the
eye.
quote unquote wild caught salmon.
Even with the wild caught salmon, yes, ma'am.
Get out of here! Get out of here! Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh
You know,
wow!
yeah.
Well, you
So,
know what? I was just watching videos of grizzly bears with my students, and they were watching them catch the salmon at the river where they was
hmm,
spawning. You know how they jump up out of the water and the
yes.
bears are there, and they were actually tearing the flesh from the bones and eating it. Now that you
Hmm.
mentioned it, it was
It wasn't pink, correct? Right. It
no,
was
it
not pink.
wasn't.
No, no.
Wow. I know there's some imported fish, and I know this because I've read the box because I used to work at a food distribution place, and on the outside of the box, it has sprayed with carbon monoxide. And that's a poison that actually depletes the oxygen supply in red blood cells. But they're spraying it on food before they ship it so that it'll look fresh by the time it gets here. So
Right.
just be forewarned, listening audience, just be forewarned. So I guess not only will I be looking for land to purchase, I'm just gonna go and look for me an ocean to purchase. I don't have to purchase it because it's mine already, huh, sis?
Oh
I'm
gosh.
just I'm making a joke, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
serious at the same time. And I know that red fruits and vegetables, period, but especially those that are of darker hues,
Yes.
they contain substances in them that really help with what they call nowadays non-communicable diseases, because I guess they got tired of calling them chronic diseases, so they call them non-communicable diseases. But a rose is still a rose no matter what you call it, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
those measures that they're taking, they're talking about neurological diseases. They're talking, like we were just talking about, heart disease, diabetes, and osteoarthritis. And because of, like, with osteoarthritis, there's a lot of inflammation going on in the body, and with that inflammation and with high cholesterol diets, from what I understand from a person that I really trust and is extremely studious when it comes down to cholesterol and fat, that too much fat in the body, too much cholesterol has a tendency of crystallizing within the body and then going into the joints. That's where it likes to land, so to speak. And
Yeah.
it's our bodies are so amazing and they're so mathematically precise. The
Yes.
least little thing that we do, it can spiral and it can cause it. And dear sister and dear listeners, even on a cellular level, in order for your cells to be able to do what they need to do, then they need that manganese, they need that copper, they need those nutrients that come from red fruits and vegetables, and green and yellow also, as a matter of fact. And if you're wondering, we're just going to, for the sake of clarity, we're going to talk about what fruits we're talking about, because I'm talking about fruit mostly now,
Okay.
because it can kind of take away that sugar Jones that we have,
They could.
right?
Yes. Yes.
It, it,
Yes.
it, and we're talking about cranberries, which I know are bitter,
Yeah.
but they're better for you in their natural state. Strawberries, cherries, raspberries, pomegranates. However, be careful with pomegranates, because a lot of them now on the market are genetically modified. So remember, when you're shopping, to check your labels and make sure that if the label starts with the number 3, please put it back, because that's a genetically modified organism.
And
I
4.
know that I'm learning now, sis, that there's a level of different fats in fruits. And that was a shock to me, because I never thought about that. How about you?
I've heard about it. I never looked into it about different fats and fruit and vegetables. I didn't look. I didn't. No, I didn't look into it at all. Because in my thinking, I'm like, this is better than an animal fat all day long. So and so yes, I didn't look into it.
There are, and you know what, and it makes perfect sense, because if the messenger is teaching us not to eat meat, because it really does wear out the stomach and the digestive
Right.
system. And I ate some turkey the other day, and it just made me very, very heavy. And I said, you know what? I just gotta stop eating the meat.
Well, the body talks to us. So
It does. But the back to the fats that's in fruits. I know that it's not. They're calling it fat only because its chemical composition is lipid,
yeah,
right? And lipids are another. It's just another fancy word for fats. But
right.
what's so important and significant about the lipids in fruits and vegetables is that is what helps with the metabolism on a cellular level. When it crosses the cell membrane, it goes inside the cell, and it helps to feed the mitochondria action. And the mitochondria, as you know, Sister Chantel, is the powerhouse of the cell. And if it wasn't for the mitochondria, the cell wouldn't even live.
Correct. And everything is not created equal. So even though they may put out information saying that a fruit or vegetable contain fats, it's not going to create high cholesterol, bad cholesterol within our system, or gout or anything like that. And also with the heirloom tomatoes, which are primarily like a combination of dark green and red, those are packed with lycopene. And with that, like if you're a man, especially a black man, you want to have at least um, heirloom tomatoes at least 2 to 3 times a week. That has been shown to prevent prostate cancer. And if you're a black woman, you want to have it at least maybe between 2 and 4 times a week to combat breast cancer.
Okay. Talk to me about these heirloom tomatoes. I've been hearing about heirloom this, heirloom that. I even
Yeah.
heard about heirloom chickens and heirloom eggs. And please
Yes. Okay.
explain that to
I just heard about the heirloom chicken and eggs the other day when I was at the store, and they create blue eggs. So I'm in the middle of researching that. However, heirloom is just the seed that's used over and over and over, the original seed that's used over and over and over. That's it. So like that seed can be like 100 years old. It has not been crossbred or anything like that. That's the original seed.
So the original seed, say for example, in grapes, is
Yes,
going to produce a grape that has a seed. And the seed that is
exactly.
produced from that grape will be considered an heirloom seed because you can plant it and actually grow other grapes.
Yes, ma'am. And also it naturally fights off like cross contamination, like if there's a field that's being next door to your farm per se, and they're spraying GMO, and then the wind just happened to blow your way, those heirlooms are not going to have that GMO, contaminate your heirloom tomatoes or whatever you're growing.
Okay. Are there any distinguishing characteristics to help someone know the difference when you're looking at, like, say, if I go to the store and it has heirloom carrot seeds, heirloom this, heirloom that, can I look at this seed and tell whether or not it's really heirloom or is somebody just writing that on the package for profitability?
The seeds, no, ma'am. The seeds, no. But the end product, like if you're in the produce section and you see an heirloom tomato, you're gonna know you're looking at heirloom tomato because it's not perfectly shaped, it's not shiny. It's very obtuse. It's different. The size and shape ranges. It's a dull color, but those are the most healthiest ones. Those are ones that, you know, um, would get thrown out because they're not appealing to the customer. So the customer doesn't buy them. So the grocery store, they throw them out. But those are the healthiest ones.
Okay, so that means that we're all caught up in appearances.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I know that when you were talking about the heirloom seeds, it made me think about the Terminator seeds that are becoming more and more, I'm going to say, out
Yeah.
there in the news and being researched now. Because for those of you who may not know, a Terminator seed is a seed that is the product of something that has been grown genetically modified. And you can take that seed and use its offspring maybe once, no more than twice.
Right.
After you have, say, if I have a peach and it's genetically modified, I can use that peach pit one time, plant it, peaches grow. The second time they plant, but after that, anything on that second or that, or should I say that third generation, it will not produce. And that's not what farming is. That's not what agriculture is. You're supposed to be able to plant, and have something natural and something delicious that comes from the earth. Even if you have soil with worms,
Hmm.
it doesn't change the I'm sorry, it doesn't change the composition of that actual vegetable or
Yeah.
fruit that is being grown from those terminator seeds. Those seeds
Correct.
have been altered, genetically altered, not to
Yes.
produce. And
Yes.
that's really something, huh?
That's part of these people plan, and how to live. The messenger said, or the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, their end goal is commercialization because those farmers, once this company put that into play, they made it against the law that the farmers couldn't reuse their own seeds.
I'm
So
sorry. Can you repeat that, sis?
I was saying, once this particular company put that seed into play, they went to the farmers and made it so that the farmers could not reuse their own seeds. You can use that seed one time and that's it.
I think that right there in and of itself is a crime against humanity. How are people going using terminator seeds and making it, I'm going to say, using extortion tactics
Yeah.
to get farmers who want to grow healthy food for themselves, their families, and
Hmm.
for them to have a prosperous livelihood.
Yes.
Most of the people's farms have been passed down from generation to generation. And
Right.
now they have to, in order to receive the subsidies that they are entitled to,
Mm-hmm.
and those subsidies come with a caveat.
That's right.
You get rid of the livestock that's on your farm, and we'll give you the money.
Yes.
And I think I may have mentioned this, if just not in a regular conversation, maybe on this particular podcast, where livestock such as cows and horses and goats and sheep on a farm, they're saying that they're emitting too many greenhouse gases, and they're contributing to the depletion of the ozone layer. And so now you have to
Mm.
get rid of your animals on your farm where you're growing food. But their excrement is part of the natural biological process of the soil becoming nutrient rich, because the worms eat that, and then the worms biologically get rid of what it is that they eat and what they excrete, and what they also give off something to neutralize, I mean, to put nutrients back in the soil so that the food can be vitamin and minerally rich. And
Correct.
to force people and extort them, you're making them an offer that they can't refuse. They're about to lose their farms, they're about
Right.
to lose their livelihoods. And if you remember in the video, and for those of you who have not watched it, go back. You can go on YouTube and you can pull up Peril on My Plate.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about how this is not just happening here, it's happening all over the world.
Yes.
And people have to use a particular type of fertilizer on their
Mhm.
foods, which is really killing their crops and it's giving them cancer.
Yes.
And some of them are actually, rather than produce something that they know is going to be harmful, a lot of farmers are committing suicide
Yes.
in other parts of the world rather than to succumb to whatever it is that they're being forced to do. And I think that the Honorable Elijah, no, I don't think it. I know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and How to Eat to Live are prophetic publications. And I say that because they speak more into what's going on today in 2024 than what was actually going on in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Because book one was published, I think it was in 65, and book two was published in 1972. And it takes years and years and years to go in a lab and create mischief in a petri dish, to conduct experiments to see what's going to happen here, what's going to happen here. Ooh, what's going to happen if I do this or if I do that? And it takes years and years and years to actually develop what it is, whatever product or byproduct that it is that you're trying to create in a lab. And he knew what was going on then. So can your food and can until you can't can anymore. I know that sounds like a tongue twister, ladies, and those of us who actually prepare foods for our families. But you'll see, can until you can't anymore, because one day we may not be able to do that. All praises due to Allah. Sister Chantel, it's a lot of stuff that's going on out here in the world today as it specifically relates to food. You have anything else that you like to add? Because this is there's a plethora of information that's going on out here. Let's talk about the book Metabolical. That book is hilarious.
I
And
I think everybody should get well, everyone should get How to Eat to Live, number one.
yes,
And then the other books, the one you just mentioned. It's so many books and just information that's available today, that's bearing witness basically to How to
the
Eat to Live.
teachings of how to eat to live.
Right. They may, of course, they're gonna mix some truth and falsehood. However, there's still gems in there that we can take and utilize, and or just just use it to help our people see, because unfortunately, some people need, other than how they need to live, they need somebody else to say the exact same thing to get them to move.
You know, beloved, I have witnessed what has happened when one totally disregards, or should I say, deviates from the advice of their medical practitioners, or even disregarding the books, How to Eat to Live. But I've also seen the happy moments when the light bulb comes on and
Yes.
the person actually works their way to getting to the point where they don't need the medication anymore to control their diabetes. They don't need the medication anymore by to control their blood pressure. Where they
Right.
don't need the information, not the information,
Hmm.
the medication as much as they used to, and it's a weaning off process, so to speak, because medications are chemicals. And to see a person come from this high A1C
Right.
of 10.0 or 12 or 8.3 or something as high as that, and they take the medication and they practice how they can wean themselves off of that, and the doctors
Hmm.
are also very happy for them,
Right.
you
Right.
know. And you know, if a person's A1C is extremely high, it's possible that they may need it until they can get it managed.
Exactly.
And during the process of management, and they eat to live as is prescribed to us and for us, then they will discover something, their taste buds start to change. I know that
Definitely.
sounds
Yes.
silly, but their taste buds change. It's like, I don't want to eat that anymore. You don't have a taste. You may have a taste for sugar or something like that, maybe somewhere
Yep.
down the line, but it's not as frequent as you would basically have it when your blood sugar or your A1C was up so high.
Correct.
So, I'm very happy to say that this food regimen of eating red, orange, yellow, and green vegetables, and we cannot forget about the white. We cannot forget about the purple,
Right.
because they have very they're even higher. The deep purple is even higher in antioxidants, and they have a richer quality of anti-inflammatory properties in them, because inside that dark purple you also have the green, the red, the orange, and the yellow.
Yes.
So they're so very rich. You have the flavonoids, which are anti-inflammatory. You have the antioxidants. You have in these fruits and vegetables that we're discussing, everyone. Do you know and understand that by eating them, the phytochemicals not only help fight against some cancers, they not only help to reduce inflammation in the body, they allow the proper scientific and biological intracellular communication by way of nerve pathways, and it promotes immune health. Those nerve pathways go straight to the brain, and it helps your neurotransmitters to be able to function properly, so that when you get ready to lay down and go to sleep at night, that melatonin kick in and you have a
Yes, ma'am.
peaceful rest.
And I know the phrase inflammation or anti-inflammation is huge right now, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of people may not understand what that means, or they may not understand that yes, I am inflammation. So if you have arthritis, asthma, gout, you name it, high blood pressure, um, you are full of inflammation, basically. Your chronic pain. Um, basically, I would say most people are walking around with inflammation, high inflammation, especially if you're eating a lot of sugar. you're eating meat, you're breathing this air that's full of pollutants, full of inflammation. And I know
Yes.
one thing, like liquid chlorophyll, it's dark green, is derived from wheat germ. And liquid chlorophyll works wonders. It doesn't take a lot. Like if you're a person that's suffering from, or a child, you have a child suffering from eczema. I know for, just within 4 months, 3 to 4 months, drinking water with a couple of teaspoons of chlorophyll clear it right up. Now, that was a personal experience. It may take longer for other people, but liquid chlorophyll definitely helps with eczema.
Yes, ma'am. You really like the chlorophyll. What do you think about spirulina and chlorella?
Spirulina is good too, actually. Yeah, I really don't differentiate between the two. So yeah, that's a good
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Because I know that I like to take them together.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter calls them the dirt because she says they taste like dirt. I mean, it's it's an acquired taste in that when I first started using it, I would always put it in water. I got used to mixing it in water and not putting it in any fruity drink or
Mm-hmm.
like that. I just basically put it in water and
Yep.
drink it within 24 hours because that's extremely crucial
Yep.
for us to be able to do. And, just for the sake of clarity, I just wanted those who are listening to know myself. I'm not up here on this show to front, to act like I don't eat cookies, to
Right.
act like I don't eat potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep it 100 and I'm going to keep it real. I know that I don't make a food group out of it.
Same
I
here.
would I mean because we have to be mindful because somebody may be watching you now and see you pick up a bag of potato chips from the
Right.
grocery store
Yes. Yes.
and look at you as if
Mm-hmm.
she that this that and the other. She talk about how to
Yeah.
eat the liquid, but she eating potato chips and they have no idea. Now they ain't see you eat the potato chips.
Right.
They just see you putting them in the cart. They really for your brother or
I
your
want to
sister, your
say,
cousin, your grandma, and they see you put them in
right.
your cart, and they will shun you until the day you
Mm-hmm.
die because
Mm-hmm.
they saw you with your fingers on a bag of potato chips.
Yes. That is so true because yeah, I from to, I got once a week. I'm eating sugar. It could be a cookie, it could be bean pie, it could be something, but it's sweet. Once a week. Like you said, chips. And I want to say this.
Please be patient with us, everyone, while we work through our technical difficulties. Sister Chantel her screen is frozen again. We're going to come back.
Am I back?
No, you're all the way out now. Maybe she'll come back. But, brothers and sisters, and those of you who are listening, eating food to sustain your life is extremely, extremely important. It's extremely important because what you're eating or what you're not eating, what you agree to eat, what you disagree to eat, is either going to prolong your life or it's going to take your life. She's back. Oh, praises be to Allah. Can you hear me, Chantel? Can you hear me,
Can you hear
sis?
me?
Yes, I
Yes,
can.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. I was just sharing that it is extremely important that we are mindful of what we eat day and night because it can either
Yes.
cause you to live or it can cause you to
Yes.
die. And
Yes.
even years ago, when the study of diabetes began, when the study of heart disease began, it was known what exacerbated it, or it was known what contributed to it, right?
Right.
But in a capitalist society, it is still allowed for people to make, manufacture, grow, or sell things that are known and have been scientifically proven to cause harm to others.
Yes,
However,
ma'am.
when nobody's making you go into these establishments to purchase these things that are not good for you to eat. There's nobody in that car but you, and you are the one that has the control over whether or not. Because one thing that I know is that when you're looking at the ecosystem of the individual, not of society, not what's outside your window, not the rainforest, the ecological system of individuals and their families and their households, our thoughts and our behavior contribute more to eating the wrong food than just
Yes.
the fact that that bag of potato chips or that McDonald's or that Burger King or whatever other store that's actually out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have become so dependent upon the chemicals that's in processed food and so dependent upon things that make us feel good. You know, I don't know about the generation when you grew up, but I know that when I was growing up, they had people that smoked on television. They had people that drank, like, talk shows. They actually allowed people to sit there and drink and smoke and have conversations on TV cameras. They stopped that after a while. But I
Right.
also know that this generation, there, even though they stopped it, they're still using things more and more and more. It's like the more they try to prevent that to be publicized, it doesn't do any good. Quite frankly, I think that it is wrong. It's like I think Malcolm say once, or was it the minister? I'm not sure. But it's not correct to outlaw the manufacture of a product. I mean, to outlaw the purchase of certain products, but you make it lawful to manufacture these same products at the same
Yes.
time. That's
Yes.
hypocritical.
Yes. Yes.
I can't, you can manufacture and go buy a switchblade, but I can't carry one.
That's right.
So it's kind of along those lines. And it's the same thing with the things that are actually being allowed, that are actually banned in most other countries in the world. But
Mm-hmm.
those of us that live in the US, they still allow the
Yes.
manufacturing of these particular foods. And by we, I meant the community.
Right.
I don't
It's
want I don't want nobody to misunderstand what I meant
yeah.
by the word we.
Yes.
Because we all at some point or another participate in our own demise and don't realize it.
Correct.
So it's like when we choose to go here because it's more convenient instead of going 3 more miles or 10 more minutes out of our way
Right.
to get something a little bit healthier, because the healthier places are not as prominent as they used to be here in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, those of us that live in the densely populated areas in most inner cities, we don't stand a chance. And that's why it is extremely important that we, um, especially those of us who actively participate on the Ministry of Health and Human Services, we can join forces with the Ministry of Agriculture and change the reality of our
That's
people.
right. That's right. And as a people, we have to get our emotional eating under control. The emotional eating, a lot of this come from emotional eating. Stress. Stress is just out the roof for most Black people. Just everybody walk around here stressed out for various reasons. And you're gonna either turn to this illicit drug known as heroin, crack, fentanyl, whatever, versus another drug called processed food. Or it may not
Sugar.
be processed. It may not be processed. It can be a meat that you get at the grocery store. That don't mean that it's healthy. Just you eating meat. That's not healthy. Um, or you buying potatoes at the grocery store. Those potatoes are GMO. That's another drug. And what we don't understand is, like you mentioned, diabetes. Okay, all of us that's in the United States, I'm talking about from the infants born just 2 minutes ago to 100-year-old, walk around here with forever chemicals in our systems, from Teflon and all these other chemicals. Microplastics are in all of our systems. So we have to take into all that's another cause of inflammation. That's why I said we're all walk around here flamed up. We're all inflamed.
We all turned up, huh?
We all. So it all starts in the mind, and we, like I said, stress. So we have to get under control. The teenagers, the young adults, they say they stressed out. I don't know, like you don't have no bills or anything. I'm like, what you stressed about? But everybody gets some form of something that they're dealing with. And what may not be a big deal to me, it may be a big deal to this other person. And
Exactly.
so you just never know what other people are going through. So they just eat. They try to eat it away. Because you seen it. The girls, like, they say they want to go on a date just so they can get a meal. They always like, didn't you just eat? So the girls are always hungry, and they're not. It's not just because they have a lack of nutrients, which is true, but they're also trying to fill that gap. They may not have a dad at home. They may have been raped. Just it's just all kind of things that's going on.
But that's also, in one sense, your sister contributed because of a lack of nutrients. Because you're talking about, I'm not feeding, because we're guiding people to eat the right thing, correct? But
Right,
because we're not eating the right thing, then you're talking about you trying to find something to satisfy that dopamine factor, that pleasure center,
right.
right? And I know that we're also, and while you're feeding that pleasure center, the serotonin level is going lower and lower.
Yeah,
And that's what kind of helps control your appetite.
right.
So it's a equal balance that's
Yeah.
going on, that's creating the dysfunction internally,
Yes.
internally in your gut, and internally, especially here.
Yes.
Because the messenger of Allah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said that if we don't, he said, if we eat the best food
Mhm.
and we're eating the best food, if
Mhm.
you don't have the right thoughts, if you're not feeding yourself the right spiritual food, then all
That's
that
right.
good food is not really going to help you, because of the
Exactly.
chemical reaction that happens as a result of a thought that
Yes.
travels 186,000 miles per second. I'm
That's right.
sorry,
And these.
no, no, it's more than that. I think it's billions of miles per second. My bad, my
Yes,
apologies.
ma'am. Yes,
But
yes,
it's
ma'am.
like it's
And
very
these.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And these companies pay big money to like psychologists to study us. They know we stressed out. They know we're full of emotions. They know we over here with single parent homes. or teenage mothers or drug addicts. They know all our conditions and they play off of that. You see in our communities, I don't care what city or state you go in, it's the same play. You got a fast food, you got a dialysis center, you have a liquor store, a church. So so we have to, like I said, get in control of our emotions, of our own well-being holistically, because we can get it together through how to live. That's physically, but what about psychologically? What about spiritually?
I know that it's like being the hamster on the wheel, so to speak.
Yes.
And there are many that feel as if they may not be strong enough to be able to overcome this quote unquote eating disorder that magically appeared from out of obscurity or from anywhere.
Yes.
That I
Mm-hmm.
believe they may have created a medication for the eating disorder or a psychological and a psychological disorder that could be a new industry for people.
Yeah.
But we can overcome the obstacles that we face by way of food.
Mm.
I know because I did.
Yeah.
I know that what Sister Chantel said about what did you call them, the forever chemicals that
The
lodge
for Yeah.
themselves into our bodies and take up residency in our livers and in our kidneys is very real. The microplastic thing is very real. I had plastic in my liver at one point. I had um, formaldehyde and mercury in my liver, and it caused a great deal of pain. It caused a great deal of distress, and it caused a great deal of weakness because sometimes I couldn't even hold my purse
Mm. Mm-hmm.
without being in pain. I would have to
Yeah.
switch sides. I would spend days and days in hospitals. And because of the insurance I had, I laid up in the bed. Sometimes I didn't even get seen by a doctor. They would just keep me there, occupying a bed.
Yeah.
And a tap was running up, but I wasn't getting any better.
Right.
So just like I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but they say it is written on a tomb in Egypt, physician, heal thyself.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not a physician, but I know that God guided me to the right person who was a physician and is a physician that helped me to overcome that. And that is why, that's my why, right? Because I actually could have died. And I was on my way to that had I not gotten the right type of whole food supplements
Mm-hmm.
that I needed to get them poisons out of my liver. Listen up, everybody. Without the liver, you cannot live.
Sure can.
See, you have two eyes, so if something happened and you lose one, at least you got one left.
Yeah.
The
Right.
same thing with your lung, the same thing
Yep.
with your kidneys, the same thing with
Mm-hmm.
your hands, your arms, your feet, your legs, but you only got one
The
liver.
liver. That's right.
And most, if it needs to be operated on, at least for those that live in densely populated areas of cities across the country, if you don't have the right insurance, they are not going to perform
No.
surgery to remove anything.
No.
The only thing that they're going to do is maybe give you something to take, some sort of medication, which is only going, in my opinion, to build up more toxicity in your body because
Yeah.
everything that you take into your body is metabolized and somehow or another goes through the liver. That's why you have to protect it. That's why you have to make sure that you eat the right thing.
Yep.
Even if you're not doing it perfectly,
Right.
guard
Mm-hmm.
it, guard it, because
Yeah.
it is to have that kind of pain where you are doubled over
Yeah.
several times out of the day and you have to stand still because you cannot move. That's not fun.
Mm. Mm.
It's not fun. And the thing is, when the doctor that prescribed those whole food supplements to me, it was a non-invasive thing. All it took was less than 5 minutes of palpating that area. And he knew exactly what it was. Did it cost a lot of money, Sister Nisa? Yes, it did. But not as much as a funeral.
That's right. That's right.
God gave us this life, and He gave us the truth for us to have a long life, for us to have a good life, and that we can have life more
Mm.
abundantly.
Definitely.
Don't
Mm-hmm.
take your life for granted
That's right.
because you only have one.
That's right.
Don't live foolishly. It's going to take some time. Those of us that have high A1Cs and blood pressure and we weigh a lot more than we should.
Yeah.
Don't beat up on yourself. Don't give up.
That's right.
You keep fighting the good fight, and eventually you will get there if you put forth the effort. You take one step
Yeah.
toward God, He'll take 10 towards you.
That's right.
There are
Yes, ma'am.
so many things that we can become used to doing, or
Yeah.
everybody's talking about different types of addictions, and some of them not even addictions, but I'm just saying, love God with all your heart,
Yes, ma'am.
and how about becoming addicted to life?
That's
you
a good
know
addiction.
it is, but it's not even an addiction, it's a way of life,
That's right.
because it's, sis, it's I miss working in clinics and I miss working in hospitals, but I don't have the stress that I used to, because I know my husband tells me you get attached to your patients, sometimes a little bit too much. And I guess I did, and
Yeah.
maybe still do. But that was because I knew that what was going on with that individual
Mm-hmm.
did not have to be. My job is to give them a weighty word, a word that can save their life. What
Right.
they do with that word after it has been delivered to them is on them.
That's right.
But I can't give you a word for you to think about if you're half intoxicated.
Right.
The Quran even tells us, don't you pray to God and make a vow to God while you're intoxicated, least you make a vow that you're going to be held accountable for. So it's a process. It took us 76 trillion years to get to where we are today. Is that right, ma'am? So if
That's
it
right.
took us that long, fight for your life because you're worth it.
Yes.
Can we get some closing remarks from you right now, Sister Chantel?
Yes, ma'am. I just want the audience to know, or if some of you are wondering, when Sister Anissa mentioned to guard your liver, if you didn't know, one way you can guard your liver is by cutting down on the fried foods, if not completely, but at least cut down on the fried food.
Why? What does fried food have to do with damaging your liver?
Oh my goodness, the fried food damages the liver, the kidneys, by the cholesterol, the bad cholesterol that it creates. I mean, literally, I held a liver in my hand that was so leathery, I was bouncing it on the table. It was all due to this person's diet, fried food, and
Wow.
apparently a lot of it.
And you know, brothers and sisters, and those that are listening, believe it or not, sugar also contributes to what they now call non alcoholic fatty liver,
Yes.
because there are different things that raise cholesterol. And cholesterol, by the way, is a natural steroid that's in the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's natural. But when you eat the wrong foods and you eating a lot of sugar byproducts, when you talk about how the body works and you eat something, if there's any glucose left, and it can be from fruit, it can be from vegetables, it can be,
Mm-hmm.
it's something natural. What
Right.
your body is not using, it's going to store it in the liver until you need it.
Right.
Now, suppose you sat there and you ate a 4,000 calorie meal, or that's the accumulation of the calories in the meals that you had today. But you are considered a couch potato, or you don't walk or anything like
Yeah.
that, then you've eaten too much and you're not expending the energy to burn off the calories that you've eaten, or you're not using the energy that the food is actually giving you. Okay, then that means that your body is going to have to store it, and it stores it, the glucose in the liver,
Yeah.
which eventually will turn to cholesterol and fat, right? And it stays inside your liver. And that's how people, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, as they call it, can actually set the stage for you to get cirrhosis of the liver, which is something that most alcoholics get.
And you do not want that.
And
You do
no,
not.
because there's no quote unquote magic pill. There's no quote unquote way
Nothing.
that you can, once it starts to cirrhose, it's going to stay in that process. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that you're going to be able to take for that. So thank you for that reminder, Sister Chantel, because it's
You're welcome.
extremely important that, again, without the liver, you cannot live. And without your gut, you cannot live. Remember, your digestive system, or your gut, is your body's second brain. And that is how God created it. He created our bodies so mathematically precise. The least little thing that we do to harm it will actually harm it. And you will not be able to continue to live your life the way that you deserve to live it. Right? So, Sister Chantel, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for being the guest on my shows. I really, really am looking forward to it. And after we do parts 3 and 4, I'm gonna give you a break for about 6 months, and then I'm gonna bring you back. And then I'm gonna bring you back on. Okay, everybody. I thank you all so much for being on the show. And those of us at Closing the Gap, we thank you so much for allowing us into your computers, allowing us on your phones, allowing us in your atmosphere. Please, thank you so much for tuning in. And please remember that your body really is your temple. Respect it and protect it. Assalamu alaikum.